Western Mass News is getting answers on how local college is moving forward with its COVID-19 mask policy. This after University in Westchester County, New York, reinstated its mask requirement following a surge in COVID cases across that state and the country.
Western Mass News reporter Matt Price telling us where things stand at American International College in Springfield with winter break just days away.
We have seen an increase in COVID and flu cases since the colder weather has begun, specifically influenza A. However, with our vaccination rates and encouraging flu shots, we're able to maintain campus.
Things have been looking promising this semester health-wise, according to American International College's Health Services Director, Kaylee Ryan. As of this moment, she tells Western Mass News that students, staff, and faculty have been doing their part, both with masking and staying mindful of others.
Our students have been great about self-isolating and coming to the health center to get tested when they're experiencing symptoms, hand washing, disinfecting throughout campus, and wearing masks when appropriate.
It is finals week at AIC, with many expected to go home and away for winter recess. During that time, Ryan tells us the school will be discussing whether or not to expand its COVID-19 masking protocols for the next semester. This after SUNY Purchase in New York announced on Tuesday they are reinstituting a mask mandate following high transmission levels of COVID-19 in the state and country over the last few weeks. Ryan says there are currently 2 places where students have to wear masks.
We're requiring masks in both the health and counseling facilities as well as the athletic training facilities. Masks are not required on campus in other settings unless students are contacts of positives or experiencing symptoms with a negative COVID test.
And Ryan says AIC's vaccination policy will remain in place as she urges students and others to get certain shots if they have not already, and to not let their guards down.
It's not too late to get your flu shot, also your COVID-19 boosters when eligible to do so per CDC guidance. Social distance, wear masks, open windows, have ventilation, avoid large crowds and gatherings to keep yourselves and your family safe so that you can have a joyful holiday season.
As of right now, the current masking policy at AIC remains the same. Stick with Western Mass News both on air and online for any further updates. In Springfield, Matt Price, Western Mass News.